Today's Morphin Network video is sponsored by Ranger Stop and Pop, which is now August the 27th to the 29th, 2021 in Atlanta, Georgia. And Ranger Stop Convention, which is now November 11th to the 14th, 2021 in Orlando, Florida. Go to rangerstop.com for more info.
Mr. Brunton, sir, how are you doing, man?
So good. It's a beautiful day here in New Zealand, and I'm so stoked to be on your show.
Awesome. Plus, I loved the background, everything set up. It's amazing. It's like an actual podcast.
Well, this is my studio for my podcast. Yeah. So over here is where my co-host sits. It's just an empty chair today.
Oh, that's good, because my last question is going to be about that, actually. So I hope you're ready to answer it.
Okay, I hope I am.
Yeah. By the way, I love the lava lamp you have in the background. I think it makes some nice ambiance to your rig. That beautiful 3-camera rig.
If you want to put a lava lamp on for any show, you've got to be at least 2 hours ahead in your thinking, because it just sits there like a solid lump for a while.
Right, yes. and if you let it sit for too long, it'll be too bubbly. The bubbles will be too tiny and just all over the place.
Sure, but I think this is the perfect perfect consistency.
You have it beautiful. Look at that little piece flying out. Oh, that is so lovely.
So hello, guys. Welcome to another episode, another interview of the Morphin Network, and we have here veteran Power Ranger voice actor Stephen Brunton. Hello, sir, and also podcaster too. So
thank you. Yeah, it's cool to be here, Ryan. Thank you for reaching out and getting in touch. I've seen some fellow actors in New Zealand come on the show, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Awesome, yes. And also special thanks to your former flatmate Campbell for recommending you. So
yeah. That was kind of him.
But anyway, so guys, you guys don't remember Stephen voiced various monsters in Power Rangers. He voiced, you guys remember him? Scorpex from Dino Thunder. Scorpex.
The first episode to feature the Demetrazord.
Chiago from SPD.
It was a very buttery episode. Rage centered.
I want toast now. Thanks a lot, bro. And then Cruster from Super Samurai,
which featured the debut of the Bullzord.
Smellophant from Super Ninja Steel.
Classic.
And Fangor also from Super Ninja Steel.
It was one of my most favorite monsters of the day from the Japanese counterpart.
Yeah, he was my favorite too. But the best experience I had on that lot was Smellophant, because Campbell directed it. He is ruthlessly efficient. And then he always does one extra take at the end, just to make sure that your vocal cords are bleeding.
Yeah. I would love, like, given the whole vocal cords bleeding thing, I would love to see, have a group of New Zealand voice actors from Power Rangers become a metal band, because you need to have really good vocal cords to be in a metal band.
100%. Yeah, they would. Yeah.
Call it Ranger Metal.
Ranger Metal.
So Stephen, how did you start with acting?
How did I start with acting? This little story could take a while. If we can do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. This was a turning point in my life, actually. A huge turning point as a person, because I'd gone through high school not doing any acting at all. And so to be a professional actor in New Zealand, there's really just a couple of pathways, and that is you either do it a lot since childhood, and then you find your way into getting an agent and representation, probably as a child actor, and then you're put forward for continuing auditions as you age and become a teenager, and then a young adult. And I didn't do anything like that. In fact, I went all the way through high school as as timid as a little kitten. I had no confidence. I had a really rough time at school. I was one of these kids who really didn't have any friends at school, and it was a tough life. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people don't enjoy school, and some people, of course, love it, and I'm happy for them too. But I got through the end of my first degree after high school, and I went into tertiary education, and I was working in a university in the bookshop, and I was in about my second year in the bookshop at the university, starting to meet a lot more people and becoming a lot more confident. And I sort of thought to myself, why am I doing this qualification in advertising? You know, it's cool, it's a neat industry, but what I really want to do is act. And that was such a confronting thing to say to yourself when you'd spent years sort of a bit of a wallflower, you know. And I remember the people I started to hang around with in this communications course. There was this guy, Derek, who was doing television as his mainstream in the communications course, you know, at the top of the next building at university. And he got me to be a presenter, and he got me to do things for his bits and pieces in his class projects. And I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm gonna be an actor. This is great. And I thought I'd apply to the local drama school. And there's really, at that time, there were two good ones in New Zealand, one in Auckland and one in Wellington. And I approached a fella who I knew was a tutor and had gone through the courses. And he now was teaching people workshops and stuff. And I said, well, this is what I want to do with my life, actually. I'm going to turn on the end of this degree. I'm going to finish this course, and I'm going to go and do drama school. I think that'd be really neat. And he went, whoa, slow your rolls, buddy. Do you realize how hard that school is? And he proceeded to tell me, if you haven't done any acting work, and I said, well, I really haven't. He went, really? None? Not even like silly musicals and things? No, nothing. And I'd played one thing as a sort of a moment at the age of 16. I got a little bit more confidence, and I asked to be part of a play. But that memory back to that tiny little role in a Shakespearean play made me go, that was a cool experience. That was the one thing at school I enjoyed. But really, for the rest of the time, I was the kid that was too afraid to stand up in front of the class and deliver a book report, you know? And I expressed all this to him, and he went, you're going to have to do at least 18 months worth of voice workshops. You're going to have to do movement classes, acting technique. You're going to have to do all these things. And then look, come back in a year after that, or 2 years, and we'll look at seeing if I can help you into this course. 200 people go through, and they have this weekend workshop with the best 50, and then they work out the best 20 of them. And he made it sound terrifying. I said, well, that's great, mate, but my audition's next week. And he went, what? Because I'd gotten through to the next stage already, because I'd put my application in a month before, and they sent me a letter and said, all right, come through to the first round of auditions. And amazingly, I got through to the last stage, which was the weekend workshop, and the 200 had become 50. And I walk into this place, and there are people in leotards, and they're sort of doing mama, me, voice exercises and stuff. I'm like, what is that? You know, and yeah, energy. And they're all sort of looking at each other like, you're my competition, and how am I going to make it through the weekend? And so next thing you know, we're doing warm-up classes, and everyone's sort of part of beret, and they're all flexible, and I'm like, and I'm not very good with movement. And then it was some other bits and pieces that they literally walked around with a clipboard going, he's good, and he's not good. And I just felt the whole time, I've screwed this. This is not going well. And it was a weekend workshop. And then at 4:00 on the Sunday, we knew that was the cutoff time. This is the moment which everything from the weekend culminates through to a very short scene performance that your entire weekend is nailed down to. And I was paired up with this wonderful actress whose name was Charlotte Drinkwater. And she was light years ahead of me. And I was just lucky, I think, to be paired up with her. You could tell she had a lot of spunk, and a lot of power. And I was like, holy moly, look at this force of energy, this human being. And we were given a thing called AB, and it was line A, line B, line A, line B, line A, line B. It was 6 lines in total, and we worked out what we were going to do. And she sat there going, well, I'm gonna do the folding the laundry technique. I didn't even know what that was. And she's like, well, it's when you're expressing through your movements how you feel, because you don't have a lot to say. We've only got 6 lines, 3 for you, 3 for me. I'm going to express how I feel by folding the laundry as you come in. I was like, okay. So I come in and she goes, line A. And I can't remember what the lines were, but it was something like this. Well, line A, and it might have been something like, where have you been all day? And I responded, well, line B. And she goes, well, line A. And I go, well, line B. And she goes, well, line A. And I go, line B. And I storm out. And I'm thinking, well, that's it. That's the end of my attempt to be an actor. And as I walk off stage with my briefcase, I'm playing a businessman, I look back and a tear starts to roll down her cheek as she folds the last bit of washing. And whatever it was we said, and I'll never remember it, people just paused and there was silence. I was like, well, that's that. And then there was, and they all clapped. And the first time in my life, I'd done something which people appreciated, and it blew me away. I was like, wow. And I owe a lot to Charlotte, because between us, we had a chemistry that worked, and enough tension because of what was at stake, and we really wanted to, go to this acting school. And every time I see her, I'm like, come on, Charlotte, get back into acting, because she's sort of given it up, but she was amazing. Yeah, and that's where it started for me. And the next 3 years became drama school.
Interesting. Now, that actually goes to the next question.
Yeah, it's better than my first acting story. I'll tell you this. Like, all I did was just recite, now it's the winter of our discontent at not Shakespeare at the Park, at the Renaissance Fair one time, and that's it. Okay, but my question is, how did you get started into voice acting?
Yeah, right. I've always liked the sound of my own voice, which of course is an insult to myself, but I do find it really fun to do voices or to imitate something or to hear it and repeat it and kick it around in your head and play it and say it, a phrase or something someone says. You got to be careful, because you want to do that in private. You don't want to hear someone say something with an accent and then start repeating it. But I have the fascination to sort of want to get into the way language is spoken. And my mother was militant about teaching me to speak properly, which obviously for your American audience is not properly, because I sound like a Kiwi.
No, I get you. I'm an immigrant myself.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm not an immigrant in this country, but she made a point of, to speak properly, and that meant having a more neutral sort of an accent. And I have to credit her for helping me learn how to say vowel sounds as she thought was appropriate, because it meant changing the way I said them automatically from the environment that I was picking up to getting an ear for the way things should be, the way something sounded different. A lot of people are really unconscious about the way that they speak. So I started to become conscious of it. And by the second year of drama school, I found myself thinking, voiceovers would be really cool. I'd love to do that, but it's hard to get into. And I was on my bicycle, because I was a lot younger, and I was in town, and there was a studio, and I just circled by it a couple of times and went, that's a recording studio. And I knew nothing at that point about them. And this guy walked outside and went, g'day, mate. And I went, oh, hey, because I was embarrassed that I was just sort of looking at it. He went, is everything cool? And I went, I'm at acting school, and I noticed your studio, and I was just really keen to find out if you had any tips on how I could start doing voice work. And he went, oh, funny you should say that. Evan, our recording engineer, he's looking for some new voices at the moment. Here's his number. Catch up with him, and I think he'll you can lay down a couple of tracks and see if there's any work going. And I just thought, wow, what an opportunity. And it was as easy as that. And it's not normally as easy as that. So my first few bits of audio were fake scripts, in that they had been previously recorded at the studio and they were kicking around, and he said, oh, look, here's 5 or 6 I've found. Just record these and we'll put a music bed under them. And he made up a sort of a demo tape for me. And next thing you know, I was getting work for mobile, Microsoft, car brands, things that were going on in the industry in the late 90s. And one thing led to another, and I got voice representation. And from then onwards, I was really excited about doing voice work. So, that's how that started.
Yeah, I think it's funny how you said that you love the sound of your own voice, and that's what got you into voice acting, because what got me interested in voice acting is the fact that I hate the sound of my voice.
How did that work? How did that go? How'd you do that?
Because, I don't like the sound of my voice, so I'm like, what if I could change it? And that's when I discovered I could do an impression of Goldar.
Ah, cool. Yeah.
How you get it working for Power Rangers?
So how did I get into Power Rangers the first time?
Yep.
Well, how did that happen? I think at that time, and we're talking 2000 and something.
2003 probably.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think actually I had either started doing Loop Group at around that time, and then I met the crowd of people who were doing it, and they said, oh, he's one of our Loop Group actors. Just check him out for an audition on something. Or it was either that or my agent sent me an opportunity to do a monster voice, which is either one of those two ways, because then following that, it always then came through from my agent, hey, we've got a voice we're doing.
How did you find a voice for the various monsters you've done on Power Rangers?
So we'll go back. Scorpex. So, of course, his voice. Shago's voice. Cruster. Smellophant, and Fangor, for the fans that want to know.
So I can't really remember how I found the voice for each one of those, but I have an idea, because it was across over a decade, right? But I have a general kind of approach to it, where I would read the description of the character, find out something that it did, what he was like. And actually, it's probably easier to use this example. There was this one that I auditioned for and I didn't get it. But my memory of that audition was it was one of the most fun auditions for a character I ever had. And as a result, I got a different character entirely. I was like, stink, because I really enjoyed it. And this one character, and you'll probably know who this is, but I can't remember his name, but he had hands that were like a buzzsaw, and they rotated, and he had the ability to sort of saw through things, like this dangerous character, like an Edward Scissorhands, but it was buzzsaws. And I remember thinking, what would you sound like if that was what you were? And I sort of thought, buzzsaw.
Hello, I am insert name of character.
And that's what I went in. I was like,
damn you, Power Rangers!
Although we'd never say Dan, probably, because that's like a scary word.
Dang, Power Rangers.
Damn you, Power Rangers!
And I don't know, maybe they just laughed quietly at me and went, but he had enthusiasm, so let's try him again for something else. And I got another thing. But I remember that one the most. And I remember really fondly coming into audition with Jim and Campbell on some other ones. And over the years, it's all sort of blurred into one, because I just started to feel quite at home at Inside Track, which is the recording studio they use in New Zealand. And, I'd gone in for Loop Group over the years, and then occasionally went back for different things. The key really was trying to find something that made you sound a little different from just how you sound as a person, with lots of expression. And sometimes I would try a slower energy. Oh, what about this then? You know, maybe the monster speaks like this, and different sorts of approaches, and looking at what the monster would do and how it would interact and how its attitude was to what it was happening. Like the most fun one to voice was either Smellephant, and I think a second equal with Fangor, because that scene where he's body swapped with the Yellow Ranger. That was my over there. That ranger, the good looking one. He's particularly good looking. So I really enjoyed that.
One thing I really appreciate about Chiago is that he actually does have a bit of a backstory. He and his two friends were a trio of rich kids that just want to cause calamity just because I have money and it sounds like fun, like this one trio of Batman villains. So I think it's kind of interesting how they went with that. I can't remember the name of that trio of Batman villains, but one was like a shark, one was a condor, and the third one was not a tiger, but some kind of land animal. But that was basically the premise.
Yeah.
And I love how like these three bad guys are kind of like that, where it's like, yeah, we're just three rich kids. We want to have our own Megazords and cause some destruction. Why is that so hard to understand? I graduated from Harvard.
Yeah. Why can't I just have what I want?
I think I found your Buzz monster. Is it the guy?
Oh yeah, I think that's who it was. So somebody else got it, but yeah, he was a really cool fun audition.
Oh, he was a Generation 16 Sawbot from RPM. So 17. There you go. Well, you kind of did answer this already. Like, of all the monsters you voiced, which one stands out? I mean, you did say Smellephant. Now, can you say why Smellephant?
Because he had absolutely no problem sniffing up a park full of farts. You know, he was like, "Oh, I've got it," and and because Campbell, you know, he directed that, and it's really, look, I mean, I can't overstate how nice it is to have a friend and a confidant, like a friend like Campbell that you might be close to or catch up with regularly, or in my case, he was my flatmate for all those years, for 5 years. And you talk about the industry and you talk about the process of acting. And then one day, through the luck of the draw, you know, things work out, because he'd been working on the show for years. I managed to secure that particular character, and it's exciting to go in and work with a friend in a professional capacity. It feels like, you know, something to be proud of. So I mean, that alone says a lot for me.
How did you get into podcasting, and tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Yeah, cool. Thanks. So my podcast, and I should say our podcast, because it's my friend Rob and I have a podcast called Reality Hub, and you've got to find a name, right? Obviously, and we stumbled upon that and went, yeah, Reality Hub, because he and I would often catch up and talk man to man over the phone about life, the universe, and how we feel about things, and how we interpret the meaning of certain behaviors and relationships, and we would talk to each other about what is real and what is spiritual, and the importance of integrating your physical, emotional, mental self into a cohesive best version of who you are as a person. And part of that was elaborating what you accept as part of your reality, how you accept or don't accept the life you're living, and especially is examining your own program and programs, and the many programs that run unconsciously in your life from day to day, the things that make you behave the way you do with your parents, in relationships, with partners, with friends, and at work. And so we came up with the title Reality Hub, and we decided to talk about all of those things that he and I would often just talk about. And at the end of those long phone conversations, often we'd go, man, we should have recorded that. That would have been a good episode. There was some good stuff in there. what a great chat. And one thing led to another, and we decided to do it. And there was a huge learning curve for me about how to upload podcasts, how to get the right audio equipment. But I decided to go through the process because, audio equipment for a podcast is really adjacent to audio equipment for voiceovers. So I took that challenge on. I'm going to do this because now I'm sitting in my home studio, which I've recently made in this room, and this is this new chapter of my life. I'm doing voiceovers from home, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Speaking of which, a special person to say hi to you, Stephen.
What was that?
Jeremy Virtual wants to say hi. Nice.
Jeremy Virtual. Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. I wish you didn't live so far away, mate, because I'd love you to come down here and blast your vocal cords out in my Sennheiser mic. Yeah. Good. Thanks for the comment, bro.
So you guys don't know, Jeremy's also a Power Ranger voice actor, president voice actor in Power Rangers. So hey Jeremy, nice to see you again, bro. Or mate. So the fans don't know that you were a massage therapist before.
Yeah.
So, how about that? Tell us more.
Well, I'll tell you what. So I left school, right? And I was on a bit of a search to find myself. Mm-hmm. And I would say it was a spiritual sort of experience to regather myself and my confidence as a person, because the boarding school I went to for me was like a living hell. It was not a fun experience, and that sort of experience distorts your natural energy, and it makes you into something that is living in that little closet and not coming out of its shell, and it distorts your behavior in the way you are with yourself and with the world. And I started to find in those dark periods of my life that I started to turn in and think, what is this? What is this life that I'm living? And it led me naturally down a spiritual path. And I met people who, I'd go to bookshops and read topics about spirituality and stuff, and then one thing led to another, and I met clairvoyants and psychics and healers and this sort of alternative stuff. And I met someone who became a mentor to me and taught me about meditation and visualization and healing and things. And over a year, and he was a justice of the peace, which is a sort of a community position in New Zealand where you can sign documentation for people as an official. He was a really well-respected guy. He was a registered nurse. He had and he was a very older gentleman who had such huge life experiences and helped a lot of people. I would say he was a real old soul, and he came across my path, and he really helped mentor me and come out of my shell. And he taught me massage therapy as a student. And then at the end of that time, over a year, he said to me, go out into the world. And at one point he said, you really should study this full time as a qualification. And I actually did. In my time since leaving high school, and bearing in mind, I hated the academic world and I hated school, right? But still, weirdly enough, I went back and did 3 qualifications. Each one was a 3-year qualification. The first one I mistakenly referred to earlier as a degree, but it was actually a 3-year diploma. Then I did a 3-year degree in a Bachelor of Performing and Screen Arts. And then a few years later, recognizing that there was no money in acting, and this certainly wasn't for me at that time, I decided to do a 3-year degree in health studies, which was majoring as a neuromuscular therapist in the Bachelor of Massage Therapy. So, I did all of those things, and part of my path to sort of finding myself included a lot of education. Yeah.
But hey, on the bright side, you did get an education, and plus, I'm kind of curious how good of a massage therapist you are, because I actually did. What's funny is, when I was younger, I actually wanted to be one.
Yeah,
You're right.
When I studied medical science, I wanted to be an osseous surgeon. I wanted to be perform surgeries on people's spines.
Oh yeah, that's any of that stuff is so hard. Yeah, it really takes a certain kind of person to study medical type stuff like that, and doctors and dentists. I take my hat off to them because, and I know a few. I used my combination of qualifications to go and work for a pharmaceutical company, and at that point I let go of the body work that I was doing at that time. I still have a real passion and interest in it, but it's really now just limited to friends and family. But I essentially was a massage therapist for 20 years, culminating in a degree later on in that time as a therapist. Excuse me. And I used that qualification to work in the pharmaceutical industry, which I was a bit of an outlier in because I really had a massive interest in alternative health. and here I am in the pharmaceutical industry. But it was good. It was a great experience, actually. Yeah, and I've only just recently finished up there and put together the studio to focus on this full time.
Yeah. Great. Fast forwarding to present day, we've come to notice that for Kiwi actors, there's a certain rite of passage. And so my makeup question number 6 for you is, what is your experience now being a member of the Shorties family?
Oh my god.
Shortland Street. You haven't ever seen it, have you?
I did. Oh no, okay. Almost every. So it's funny. So it's funny is almost all the guests we had. You don't believe I actually watched it as a kid. I did. So back then here, before cable, cable was still here. Channel 16 or 17, New Zealand channel. I would watch Shortland Street every afternoon with my parents. Yeah.
What?
So like Will Hall, like Ian Hughes, I would legit remember Andrew Lang, their characters. I would remember in Shorties.
Oh my God, Andrew Lang. That's who I was. That's who I acted alongside it in 2003.
Yeah, and also Anna Hutchinson, like Yellow, Free Ranger. I legit remember their characters.
Yeah, and Sally Martin was there too, if I remember correctly.
So what's funny is I would watch. So that series actually had an inspiration to me because thanks to that series, I actually got into health science.
Yeah, that's right. Because you work in health, don't you, as well?
Health science, public health.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Medical, so yeah, health science.
Yeah, I'm medical science because I like surgeries. He is in public health because he likes epidemiology.
Yeah.
Right.
Research stuff.
Well, I was twice on Shortland Street. I aged enough significantly between roles that I could come back on, and in both instances, I had I remember it well. In both instances, I had a 5-week booking on the show, and in both instances, most of my time acting was all in the last week of the 5 weeks, mostly, but the other bit between that, which is fine. They book you and then they try and fit you in where they can, and then they just smash a whole bunch of scenes together and get it done. And the first one in 2003, I was a young strapping lad, and I played, maybe it wasn't Andrew Lang, but I played the gay lover to one of the doctors, and that was interesting, and not too confronting in the end. It was pretty tame, because it's sort of 7 p.m. viewing. But it's Shortland Street is one of those shows that tries to deal with current social issues, and for whatever reason, that was a thing, having a doctor who was coming out. And I played but I was evil. I played, and ironically, I was a pharmaceutical rep, which obviously years later I became. And and I remember having this, and as the character on the show, I had this experimental cancer drug, which I convinced the doctor, because I was his lover, to give secretly to this little girl called Missy, and then she died, because he had given her this experimental cancer drug and hadn't asked for permission. So it was a bit of a shocker of the storyline. But more recently, and I'm talking only the last sort of 3 months, I had another 5-week contract on there, a booking which I played one of the main characters' schoolboy bullies. And we had this storyline that evolved where we ended up becoming friends, and I turned up at the hospital, because Shortland Street is based around a hospital, as a sort of a medical drama, and I had and my character had testicular cancer, but he hadn't admitted it to his family. So he and I resolved our childhood grievances, as I was his bully, and I had a lot to draw on because I had a lot of bullies at school. And I remembered one in particular. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be like him. And it was a beautiful story, beautiful little experience. And Shortland Street is cool. It's a neat sort of rite of passage, as you say, for a New Zealand actor, because in terms of the amount of work that's going on, that's the one thing that's actually constantly churning out something. I think it is one of the fastest turnaround television shows in the world, or maybe the fastest, the amount of content they put out every day.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I don't know if you guys like have a YouTube channel on YouTube. Like, some of your episodes are now on YouTube for Shortland Street. So, before I go into the recap, or when I get bored, I'm like, oh, watch one episode of Shortland Street or Shorty. Or we call them Shorties here, so like, oh, okay, one episode.
What do we call it? I got some work on Shorty. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, being a rugby fan myself, it occurred to me that you're also a recurring character in a show called Head High. Care to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, but this is where it's embarrassing.
Okay.
This is where life does not imitate art.
Okay.
I know nothing about rugby. Nothing. I couldn't tell you where the name, like the positions in a rugby team where the team players. If you said, "Oh, he's a first tie fight," I can't even say. A prop or something, or what? A 5/8 something. I don't know. Is that a screwdriver size? But I don't know. But they have the types of players that I have no idea where they are. Not interested. I mostly thought that people who were really into sport, based on my terrible high school experiences, the jocks, I just thought they were total buffheads, which wasn't because they were total buffheads, but mostly because they were skilled at something that involved coordination, and I didn't have any. So I just decided, not interested. And we had compulsory school sport, and I just tried not to do any of it. That's how it was for me. And so here I am. I get onto the show because, in truth, one of the writers of the show, a lovely lady by the name of Kate, had recommended me and just said, "Hey, Steve, could you do this?" Well, she didn't even tell me. I just found out one day through my agent that they've asked if you wanted to have this role. I didn't even audition, which was cool. It's a fun experience when that happens. It's neat, but it's a very small role, and I play the PE teacher, which is what's so ironic about all of this, because you would think that if you were a PE teacher, you'd know all about the positions, and so it's just total fakery for me. Yep, yeah, rugby. Oh, yep, know all about it. Oh, yeah, look out! Oh, come on, hurry up, get down the side. And you say stuff that you don't even know. Yeah,
in wrestling, this is called kayfabe, where it's like you maintain a facade, and you just keep doubling down on it.
Yeah, much to my father's disappointment too, because he was a talented rugby player and captained a local regional team in New Zealand at one point. So I'm not. Certainly he was talented at it at high school too. So there we go.
What's your advice to any aspiring actor or actress that wants to be in the industry?
Oh, wow. I was on set the other day with this, and this particular scene on Head High involved a huge amount of actors and extras. And I got talking to this one lady who was at an agency that is primarily an extras agency, and she had, amazingly, I think, but for good reason, she'd managed to secure the role of somebody on the show, or somebody's date that night. So she was playing a main character's date at a location where everyone was out having a good time in the evening, as it went in the storyline. And because of that, she was shifted from the extras side of the production over to the actors side. And she was like, "Actually, Stephen, can you give me some advice on how to get more acting work?" And you see, the thing is, people will be told, like I was told years and years and years ago by the tutor, who said, what, you haven't got any acting experience? How are you going to get into this drama school? And I said, well, actually, I've got the audition next week. But like him, it's quite reasonable to tell other actors that, well, look, you've got to do classes. You've got to go and do acting technique stages 1 to 4. Maybe, depending where you are in the world, what's sort of the fashion at the time. It's either Stanislavski acting technique classes, or it's Meisner, or screen technique classes. You got to do all that, and voice work and so on. That's a traditional path. And you heard my story. I did none of it, but ultimately did do all of it at drama school. And really, my recommendation is, if you haven't been doing it your whole life and found an into an actor's agency that can represent you so that you can be put forward for acting work, so that you can go along to auditions, which is what I assume is the process in other countries as it is here in New Zealand, or something like it, then you've got to go to a drama school to do it. And if you're an older actor, it becomes quite a bit harder, because if you're not at an age where you go to drama school, how on earth do you get into an agency where you can be put forward as an actor without having somebody recommend you, without doing enough classes? Or, as they said to her, because she said, I'm in a catch-22 situation, the good agents wouldn't let me in because they're not familiar with my work. Well, no one's ever going to get familiar with your work if you can't get into an agency so you can be put forward for work. It really is a catch-22. So the answer is start young. But I have my co-host Rob has this great saying, and I hope I don't bastardize it because he's a good friend, but it goes along the lines of, I will not miss out on anything that is meant for me in my life. And it's a mantra, it's a self-belief, it's nothing I am meant to experience will pass me by. That's how he says it, I think. Nothing I am meant to experience will pass me by. And if you're open to the flow of the universe, and you have an open mind to opportunities, and you're aware that there are steps and processes to get to where you want to go, but you're willing to zig and zag as opposed to just go on a straight line, explore and have a clear intention of where you want to get to. And that's my advice. Flow with the universe.
Right on. So someone took up that mantra. You like that mantra, so thank you, Rob.
See, my mantra for stand-up comedy is, you will surely. First of all, I apologize in advance for the language. You will surely suck. You may as well see how horribly you suck.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because we all suck at some point, right? Yeah. And actually, the key is to be comfortable with it. You go, okay, screwed it up.
Yeah,
that was totally foo-bad. But you know what? I keep going.
Out within the confines of non-disclosure agreements, are there any new or upcoming projects you wish to share with the audience?
That you could tell, no pressure.
So, I had this really interesting experience about this question. As an actor, a few years ago, I was doing this theatre show, and we were doing some radio, right, some publicity. And she goes, "Oh, that's great. Oh, that's a cool show. So what else are you doing?" And I was like, and it stumped me, because what you live for is to actually do something. And there I was doing publicity for a show I was actually doing, which, compared to plenty of other times when I've been an actor and I've had nothing that was going on. I was excited to go, well, this is all I'm doing. But when you're asked that question and you actually don't have another thing lined up, it's oxymoronic, because you want to stay in the flow and you always want to say, and I got this other thing coming. But the truth is, a lot of us, we're just grateful for the thing that we're doing now if we're doing something. And if we're not doing something, then we're just trying to stay in that open flow state to have something come in. Really proud of the fact that in 2021 and 2020, because of production we did in 2019, that I've actually got credit on my CV for work this year and last year in commercials and in drama, Shortland Street and in Head High, which is still currently filming. Beyond that, the only thing I can really tell you is I'm looking at more theatre work again, because when I don't have booked work, then I go to what I love, which is theatre. There's an old saying, and it's a very old saying, and it was, film makes you rich, television makes you famous, but theatre makes you good. So when an actor doesn't actually have any film or TV work, they must go and do something that makes them good. You know, and that's theatre in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because theatre requires more fundamentals, if you think about it. You know, the fundamentals of acting. Yeah. And especially since, you know, with television and film, you know, you always have people in post-production where if you deliver a line poorly, you could always do it one more time, or they could edit your voice to make it sound like it's better. But when it's on stage, it's like, you know, whatever you do on your first try, that's what you end up with.
There are no do-overs in theatre. Yeah, you've got to just run with what you've got, and sometimes it's terrible, and sometimes it's great, and you're always aiming for great, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I love Broadway actors. I high respect them. Like, damn, they can't make a mistake. It's on point. Plus, my friend's mom used to work on Broadway. She's like, yeah, we cannot make a mistake. Like, it'll get them like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not big on theater, but I've always had a passion for Shakespeare, which is why the very first any kind of performance I've ever made was Now It's the Winter of Our Discontent. You know, in a sense, you know, reciting soliloquies is my way of venting my frustration. Like sometimes when I was in community college, when I'm just like frustrated, I'd be walking across the outdoor corridor and just be venting. Now that this too sullied flesh will melt, thaw and resolve itself into a two.
If you can connect with that, right? Like, it's remarkably powerful. And you've got like the frustration you're talking about. You've got something you can relate to. Even Shakespeare being essentially talking about timeless themes, things that have vexed humans for years, for time immemorial. If you can relate to that and express that on stage and make it sound like the words make sense to you, and even if people aren't sort of familiar with the language, it'll feel like it makes sense to them listening to it.
Right. You know, a lot of people have this misconception that Shakespeare is high literature, but the thing is, it wasn't. He made his plays for the common folk. It just so happens that the Queen Elizabeth just loved his style of writing, and also you know how there's this old expression of whenever there's a movie based on a book, you read the book first. Well, Shakespeare wasn't a book first; it was a play first. So you have to watch the play before you read the script, and you know, because Elizabethan English is practically a different language than modern English. You know, the best way to understand what they're saying is observing how they're saying it, because usually the contextual way of how you say something helps you understand the meaning of what you're saying, is what I've noticed.
The trouble with Shakespeare, in terms of how many young actors approach it, is they overact the lines. Right. In my opinion, you have to understand them, and when you really understand the lines, you stop overacting them and you speak them with the appropriate emphasis in the right places, but as though you just mean what you're saying. You know? Right. Yeah.
All right, so now we go to the fan questions. You ready, Stephen?
Yes.
So Aaron Go says, "Hi, did you watch episodes in which you voiced characters in West Timor aired? Greetings from Argentina."
Hello from New Zealand to Argentina. Thanks, Aaron. So this is where it's interesting, right? Because I would watch episodes in Loop Group, where I was paid to be part of it. I would obviously see everything that happened in that scenario, and then I would see what my character was doing, and I would be voicing it. But all you would see in the working of the job in New Zealand was the bits that you were involved in helping to produce. So I've never actually seen a public television network in my youth or now which plays it in New Zealand. So in order to find an episode of it, I would have to illegally download it or something. I haven't gone down that route.
Well, if you have a VPN to say that you're in America, you can watch Ninja Steel on Netflix.
Okay. Well, thanks. I didn't know. Yeah, so for me, Power Rangers, which I appreciate the people who love the show, like, how come you haven't watched every episode? It's because it just sort of wasn't available to me.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, I'm really excited about working on it. And some of the good news things I've heard about the current season, I hear it's going really, really well. But I don't know.
So let's see. Oh, your first request. Can you voice one of your monsters? Scenario: you forgot to pay the power bill.
What was Fangor's thing? He was like, that Power Ranger over there, the good-looking one. Right. That's how it's spoke.
Right. So scenario: forgot to pay the power bill.
Like
What?
for me,
What do you mean? I'm sure I paid my Netflix bill. There's
the power bill.
$200? You'll have to be kidding me. Why, I will destroy you.
see, I think it would,
That's Jeanette from the call center.
see, I think it would be hilarious to hear Thiago complain about the power bill, because knowing him, he probably never had to pay a bill in his life, and then Daddy kicked him out, and then he has to, and he's like, "Wait, what do you mean there's a power bill? What's going on?"
Yeah.
My power is free.
So your flatmates actually messaged me, says, "Much love to you, Stephen." So
Is that Campbell?
it's Campbell.
Cool. I hear he's directing something on Power Rangers right now, actually.
So my mom is here. Hey, Mom. Favorite actor or talent you have worked with?
No! Hey, Mrs. Puerta. Favorite actor or talent I have worked with? Oof. That's really hard. There's been so many good actors to work with, and saying any one of them sort of disrespect some of the others that I greatly love. Okay, I guess happens to also be a great friend of mine, Blair Strang, who is currently on the Power Rangers series that's on air now. I believe he's the janitor at the school. He and I have done a number of shows together in theatre, and there's been one show called Morning Star, where we're playing angels, and he played Lucifer, and I played Archangel Michael. And in that show, we have fight sequences where we got to beat each other up on stage, and and because we played a series of Nemesi together over a series of plays. So there was that one. There was another one where I was playing Jack the Ripper, and he was playing like this nice guy who was trying to solve a few issues and sort some things out on his journey, and he encounters Jack the Ripper, and it's like nice guy versus bad guy. So in that case, the roles were reversed, and he was the nice one. Him, because we've got a really cool chemistry, and he's an incredible listener. He's taught me a lot about being still and having stillness on stage and in any performance. And it's been a pleasure to work with him in this lifetime, as I like to put it.
Awesome. Jeremy is asking, do you have any advice for any aspiring podcaster who want to do podcasts? Because I also started my own podcast.
Yes, Prathamesh, I do. So you guys have a good example. Like, you have 10 basic questions, right? And then you let things riff. I think what you guys do well is you let your guest speak, and hopefully they're interesting enough. If they're not,
you're doing really well so far. Just saying.
Thank you. Obviously, I'm fishing for that compliment right now. I think, like, you have a structure, right? And you've got a set of questions, and I think that's a good start. Like, if you're Joe Rogan and you're a comedian, your skill set is to talk a lot of shit and just let it flow, and you work your craft as a comedian. As a comedian, as talking is your thing, that flows easily, and for them to do podcasts. I think actors are quite verbose, or can be, like myself. so it flows that you can talk and flesh out a concept. If you're not that way inclined, it really helps to have a structure, to know what you're working through, and to research the person you're interviewing so that you've got things to talk about. Maybe if it's a book that they've written or something, then you probably should read the book. And there's nothing wrong with organizing a sort of a set idea around how long are we going to go, what sort of questions do we have, what do I want to say about these certain things, and have it all prepared, and then also be absolutely willing to let the questions go out the door, completely change order, allow an interesting that comes up, go with the flow of that podcast, like, go with the flow of the universe, go with where it takes you, and pull back to those questions when you need to. But the preparation will serve you well, even if you don't use all of it. And that'd be my suggestion, quite apart from the technical side of how to set up a podcast and sort out sound and all that jazz, because there's a lot of information on that online, which you can find.
So here, guys, research and also structure.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
There's much love. Hi, Jeremy, again. Much love to all.
Right back at you, Jeremy.
By the way, Jeremy had a question. It's nice to see and hear you, Stephen. Like your studio setup, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I think what's interesting about Jeremy is I got a picture there of his child next to a storage box. And has he just taken the child out of the storage box, or is the child about to go into the storage box?
But seriously though, I love that 3-camera setup you have there. I'm very envious of it, actually. Yes, camera 3.
Have a look at my not so tidy desk and the infinite mirror image here on it.
Yeah. Picture and a 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 picture.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yes.
Oh, another request. You can still do it.
Fangor. Oh, I have a new scenario for this one. Fangor is running a blood bank.
God, it was a while. It was a while since I did Fangor, but Ryan recently sent me a Fangor clip, which I needed because someone wanted, because video game companies get in touch with actors, and they sort of ask, oh, what have you done, voice wise, so that I can consider you for a video game role. So I put together a playlist on YouTube, which I just flick off to people if they're wondering the sort of things I've done. And my favorite one is the Fangor one where he's talking and he's done the body swap with the Yellow Ranger during the witch trial. You familiar with the one I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was the scenario again?
Oh, okay, so the scenario is Fangor is running a Red Cross blood bank.
Yes, you should give blood. It's very charitable to give blood. Blood makes you a much better looking person. You could be as good looking as me.
I mean, something like that. It was years ago, wasn't it? I think. Yeah. I don't remember more that well.
Oh my god! I'll do one more. One more question. I'll do one more comment because there's the last one. Oh, you like your very first monster. So you like sport packs. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's cool. It's kind.
Yeah.
Pretty much it. Okay, guys. So yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for being part of the special interview. Stephen, thank you for being part of the interview and being our special guest. It was amazing and fun.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
So before we leave and end this, Stephen, buddy, where can I find you?
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to hear our podcast with Rob and I, go to Reality Hub. Reality Hub is a podcast available on all your podcast app, Spotify, and all good places podcasts are found. If you are looking for an actor like me for professional work, you can always go to my agent at gcm.co.nz, where I'm one of the actors there. Or if you're looking for a voiceover artist, I'm soon to be setting up my voiceover showreel online on the usual platforms, but currently you can find me at bigmouth.co.nz, because of course New Zealand websites are .co.nz. Oh, hang on. You know what? I think she's changed it. No, there's a bigmouthvoices.com. Bigmouthvoices.com as well. So there we go. I'm in there. And thanks, guys. Thanks for the plug.
And Mike, where can I find you?
You could find me on Instagram at chrono_cosplay, and you could find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/BokenKabuto, where later I will be playing more Sonic Heroes.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Find me on Instagram, Dance427. Please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter at the Morphin Network. All right, guys, this is Morphin Network. Stephen, again, thank you so much.
Take care, guys. Have a good evening. Sleep well.
We'll do goodbye waves. Wave, bye, guys. Smile.
Today's Morphin Network video is brought to you by Karson's Korner. Karson's Korner is a black LGBTQ owned small business. They sell merchandise and apparel on pop culture franchises. These franchises include King of the Hill, Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, and of course, most importantly, Power Rangers. If you're interested in getting their amazing merch, be sure to check them out at www.carsonscorner.com.